Today we're taking a look at one of my newest paintings while I share some art tips along the way that you can apply to your own work. How many times have you had an idea for a painting, but you weren't sure about every element you wanted to paint? That was me with this piece. I was painting it for a wall in my own living room, and that added a bit of extra pressure because I wanted something that would feel very me, something I wanted to look at constantly. Well, maybe not constantly, but at least every time I walked past that wall, which is a lot. I knew what color I wanted the background to be, and I knew I wanted above and underwater, and that I wanted ravens. I did not know what else I wanted though. I spent weeks trying to come up with a design I liked. What should the ravens be sitting on? Books? No, that's just gonna get soggy in the water. Pots and pans? That's kind of unique. I don't know. I really did not know what else to include. I just had that basic idea. So instead of waiting for the perfect idea to hit, I finally got to work on the parts of the painting I had the answer to, the background and the ravens. So coming back to my original question, how many times have you had a partial idea for a painting, but you weren't sure about every element you wanted to paint? Don't waste your time in front of the TV waiting for those perfect ideas to hit. Get to the easel and start working on the parts that you have the answer to, because that is where you're going to find your best ideas. They're going to come to you while you're at the easel working or at the kitchen table drawing. Either way, point is, there is a paintbrush or a pencil in your hand when those ideas hit. Here's a quick tip about painting in acrylics. Notice how I pre-painted the background before I started on the ravens. If you want a nice, smoothly blended background, don't draw the subject and then paint around it. Acrylics just dry too fast for that. If you're trying to paint around the subject, it's going to start drying. To get that really smooth background like you see here, I painted the background, let it dry, and then used a white charcoal pencil to draw my subject over it. An added bonus to this method is that I can now leave parts of the background showing through on the ravens, making them feel like they are a part of the scene and not something cut out from a different scene and stuck on this one. That's always the challenge when using multiple reference photos as I did in this painting. We need to make sure that everything feels like it's from the same scene. Pulling your background colors into the subject is one of the things that will help you achieve that. Did you paint your sky purple? Then you're going to want to pull some of that purple into your subject. Now back to coming up with ideas for the painting when you're kind of hitting a wall. While working on these ravens, I did decide I wanted a lot of wildflowers growing on driftwood. Lots of wildflowers. Now normally I would avoid painting something so detailed and tedious, not because it's difficult, but because it's extremely time consuming. The fact that I was painting this for myself really helped me to push that lazy bit of myself aside and do what I thought would look best in my home, not what would take less time. I mean, this thing is likely going to be on my own wall for years to come. These wildflowers took a couple of weeks to paint. If you've ever seen a painting that has so much detail but thought, yeah, that's just too hard for me, remember that more detail does not mean more difficult. It means more time consuming. If you are willing to put in the time and be patient while you work, meaning don't try to finish it in a night, it is way easier to make something so busy look good than something that is more simple. All of that busyness hides so many mistakes or things that otherwise might stand out as not being perfectly blended. A quick tip, paint each flower white first, and then let that white paint dry, then paint your yellows, reds, purples, whatever color on top of that. This is going to allow you to get that pure, bright color. Want to learn to paint like this? Sign up at patreon.com/Lachri and get instant access to over 400 of my long-form painting and drawing lessons. I've been teaching for over 25 years, and I have recorded over 400 lessons for you over the past 10 of those years. You can sign up today and get instant access to all of that. Now that the flowers were done, it is time to start with the last part, underwater. I still wasn't positive what I wanted, but I had decided while working on the flowers that I wanted a crab, an anemone, and a clownfish. So I started with what I had the answer to. I didn't need to know every little coral before I started. I can add as I go. Start with the part you have the answer to, so you're not wasting time not painting. If you wait for the perfect idea to hit while playing World of Warcraft or watching Netflix, you are not going to get much art done. Your best ideas will usually hit while you're at the easel working on something else. It puts your brain in the right place for those ideas to find you. Anemones and crabs are just as time-consuming as flowers. I needed to keep the same patience going. If I tried to rush these, it would be pretty obvious. I find when working on something so detailed, it helps if I give myself mini session goals. Something like, I want to get the arm on this crab finished in the next hour and a half. If I get it done sooner, great, but I just need to focus on that one arm. If I go into the painting process with, I'm painting this entire crab and anemone today, even if I might think that's possible, I get overwhelmed and I start rushing things. Slow down and focus on just one little zone. When you're finished with that spot, now give yourself a new mini goal. It makes tackling these bigger projects much easier, and the work comes out looking better because you slowed yourself down. I am in several art groups to kind of watch what beginners struggle with. The most common mistake they make, they rush everything. They're trying to get an entire painting done in one night, and it shows. If that same artist took some lessons and learned how to layer and slow down, they would get so much more satisfaction from the work that they complete. I am absolutely in love with my finished painting. It was so time consuming, but I also have this huge sense of pride that I never would have felt had I tried rushing through and half baking this painting. What is the best art advice you've ever gotten? Share it in the comments. You never know who might read it and really benefit from that advice. Can you use some low cost but weirdly good paintbrushes? I found this awesome set on Amazon, but there is one fix you're going to need to make them work right in this video here.